Humans of New York, a remarkable storytelling project, has taken the world by storm, amassing an astonishing following since its inception back in 2010. With over 17 million followers on Facebook, 12.5 million followers on Instagram, and millions more monthly visitors to its blog, Humans of New York has undoubtedly captured the hearts and minds of people all across the world. The project's profound impact extends well beyond social media. It has a range of best-selling books launched over the years, having sold millions of copies worldwide. Not just this, but Humans of New York's popular crowdfunding campaigns have raised millions of dollars for various causes, proving its incredible influence in driving positive change. Now, these are impressive numbers and figures, and surely are a testament to the power of authenticity, to the power of genuinely good storytelling, and empathy that lies at the core of this initiative. But who is the driving force behind this phenomenon that is Humans of New York? Well, I am going to answer that question for you today in this video. So let's dive in. So the story starts in the heart of the concrete jungle that is New York City, where a young man named Brandon Stanton embarked on a journey. This journey would change not only his life, but the lives of millions of people all around the world. This is the story of how a mere pawn trader from Georgia turned his passion for photography into a global phenomenon called Humans of New York. Brandon was born in 1984 in Georgia, United States. After majoring in history at the University of Georgia, he worked as a bond trader in Chicago. Now, always having a knack for photography, he bought a camera while still working at his job. The camera cost about $3,300, and Brandon paid for it with money he won in a football betting pool. On the weekends, he used to take photographs on the streets of Chicago as a hobby. His life took an unexpected turn, however, in 2010 when he lost his job. Now, instead of looking for another job, he decided to pursue photography full time. And as he recouped from his job loss and with nothing left with him, other than his camera and a dream, he decided to move to the city that never sleeps, New York. Now, Brandon's time in New York was tough, and he arrived in New York with, no connections. While he had been taking a lot of photographs, he didn't really have any professional experience, and jobless and wandering on the streets of New York City, Brandon was literally fighting for survival. He used to pay his rent by borrowing money from his friends and family and feeding himself on nothing but unemployment checks from the government. However, his passion for photography was undeterred. In the middle of this tough time, Brandon came up with an idea. He set out to photograph 10,000 New Yorkers, and his goal was to make a map of the entire city and plot their portraits on the maps, and the plotting would be corresponding to their location, so a census, so to speak. Now, while working his way around this idea, he started a Facebook page called Humans of New York in November 2010, and he ended up moving all of his photos onto this page. Now, if you follow Humans of New York right now, you know that the thing that is way more interesting and popular than the photographs themselves is a story that comes along each photograph. But initially, Brandon only posted photographs, sometimes with a caption, but no stories. And he actually began just photographing strangers he met on the streets. Every day he used to go out, take photos, upload 4 photos every day to his Facebook page. Now, occasionally he would write a small caption or one-liner describing the photo, but that was it. But in December 2011, Brandon was ill with the avian flu, and he could not go out and take pictures, but this was no ordinary man. His discipline was such that he felt pressurized to post pictures even when he was ill. So as a last resort, he started scrolling through his camera for old photos. And there was one photo of an old lady dressed in lime green from top to bottom. So instead of writing a caption, he used a snippet from the conversation he had with her. And that post went viral. The likes and comments started flowing in, and Brandon realized that he had stumbled upon something big here. So he began to include little quotes and stories from his subjects alongside their photos, and providing a glimpse into their lives, their dreams, and their struggles. But even after he started including these quotes and stories, at first the blog's growth was slow. As of 2012, Brandon had just 64,000 followers on his Facebook page. But Brandon worked tirelessly, photographing strangers and sharing their stories. And he says that he connected with the people he met on a very personal level. It became a sacred space for him. Brandon's unique style of, every picture telling a story created an impact. And the stories were about everything, body image, relationship troubles, drug abuse, sex, depression, and more. And as word spread about Humans of New York, its popularity began to soar. By the end of 2012, in just 2 years, Humans of New York had gained over 300,000 Facebook followers. And in October 2013, the blog had a major breakthrough. And it was featured on the Facebook page of the popular photography blog Petapixel. This was the push that Brandon's little page needed. Within a matter of weeks, Humans of New York's Facebook page had amassed over 1 million followers. And then came another turning point in Brandon's Humans of New York, a point where he created more impact than he could ever imagine. So in January 2015, Brandon photographed Vidal Chastanet, an African-American teenager from Brooklyn's Brownsville neighborhood. And he asked him about the person who had influenced him the most. So Vidal spoke of his principal, Miss Nadia Lopez, and the powerful impact that she had on him and his fellow students as well. And that post exploded on Facebook and got over 1 million likes and more than 20,000 comments. And people were cheering for Vidal, they were cheering for Nadia, and naturally they were cheering for Brandon. So moved by Vidal's story, Brandon decided to visit Mott Hall Bridges Academy, the school where Miss Lopez was the principal. He met with Miss Lopez and he learned about the challenges that the school faced. And most of them were because of a lack of funding for the daily struggles of the students who lived in one of New York's most dangerous neighborhoods. Now, this was where Brandon's efforts to change lives started. Recognizing the opportunity to make a difference, Brandon launched a crowdfunding campaign to raise money for the school. He shared stories of Miss Lopez, her students, the Brownsville community on Humans of New York, and the response was simply overwhelming. In just 3 weeks, the campaign raised over $1.4 million, surpassing its initial goal of $100,000. The funds were used to create scholarships and enhance the school's programs, and the impact was so huge that they even sent the students on a trip to Harvard University, showing them that anything was possible. Vidal, Lopez, and Stanton went on to meet President Obama at the White House. And as Humans of New York's popularity grew, so did its speech. At this time, the photographs had evolved into full-fledged interviews. And Brandon says that he spent at least 15 minutes talking to people he eventually photographs, and in some cases, the interviews go well over an hour. The stories that Brandon shared resonated with people all across the world, transcending borders, cultures, languages. And now Brandon here was smart enough to recognize the universal appeal of his work. If every day you write something and millions of people receive it immediately, it's one hell of a drug. So he began expanding Humans of New York's scope beyond the streets of New York City. So in 2015, Brandon partnered with the United Nations on a 50-day trip to 12 countries, and that included Iraq, Ukraine, and India. The trip was spectacular, documenting the lives of people he encouraged along the way. Through his lens and his compassionate approach to storytelling, Brandon offered a unique perspective on global issues, giving voice to those who are often unheard. In the following years, Brandon continued to explore different countries and cultures, and he was sharing stories from Iran, from Pakistan, and even countries in Africa. The global reach of Humans of New York cemented its status as a powerful platform for connection and for understanding. And this platform was fostering empathy among its millions of followers, which continued to grow. The impact of Humans of New York is immeasurable. But even a platform as big as Humans of New York has had its own struggles. By 2018, social media had exploded and everyone was carrying a camera in their pockets. The once original idea of photographing people and sharing their authentic stories wasn't so original anymore. People had learned Brandon's moves and you could find thousands of such stories all across the internet. Brandon had lost the novelty. Then one night in late 2020, Brandon had a sharp shooting pain in his left arm. and eventually he was diagnosed with an autoimmune disease that may have killed him. And this face-off with death was all the clarity he needed to find his purpose. So he wanted to focus on people moving the world in the right direction, and he wanted to try and help where he could. Since year one of the pandemic in 2020, he has started writing stories that are much longer than earlier. Some of his stories on Instagram take up more than a dozen posts, and Brandon relies on the lasting power of literature. So through his work, Brandon has raised over $8 million for various causes, from building a school in Pakistan to funding a pediatric cancer research center. And the latest of these efforts was how he had Tanqueray. So Tanqueray was a striptease artist in the 1970s, but was in bad shape now. And in one of the longest stories he had published so far, Brandon covered her story in 32 Instagram posts. He also set up a GoFundMe campaign for her, which raised over $2.7 million to cover for her healthcare costs. And this is just one of many other examples where Brandon has raised millions of dollars and helped people in need. But the true power of Humans of New York lies in its ability to create a sense of unity amongst its audience. And by sharing the raw, the unfiltered stories of people from all walks of life, Humans of New York reminds us of our shared humanity. It demonstrates that despite our differences, we are all connected by our joys, our sorrows, our dreams, our fears. And Brandon's journey has been nothing short of extraordinary. From a jobless born trader to a world-renowned photographer and storyteller, his story is a testament to the power of passion and the power of perseverance. But perhaps the most significant aspect of Humans of New York's future is the community that it has inspired. The success of Humans of New York has led to the creation of similar projects in cities all across the world. So there's Humans of Bombay in India to Humans of Amsterdam in the Netherlands. And these projects serve as a reminder that the stories of ordinary people have the power to change the world one connection at a time. During this period, Stanton came to believe that through hard work, through discipline, through commitment to a goal, people make their own life. And this is a view that seemed even more undeniable when it proved true in his own case. So as you listen to this remarkable narrative, take a moment to reflect on the power of storytelling in your own life. Have you ever connected with a stranger through the sharing of personal stories? Have you ever felt understood and less alone when hearing experiences of others? The magic of Humans of New York lies not just in the stories themselves, it is in the way that they inspire us to engage with the world around us. So as you go about your daily life, take the time to listen to the stories of those around you. Be open to learning from the experiences of others and to sharing your own stories as well. I hope you like this video. Please hit the like and subscribe buttons below to make sure this video reaches more viewers like you. And please let me know in the comments which story you want me to cover next. Until then, goodbye.